Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fix Ops Roundtable. I'm Bella Smylie, Northwood University student, joined here with,
I'm Marisa DiPonio, also Northwood University student.
and today we are joined back with Mike, John, and Cody. Thank you so much for being here again. So today we kind of want to talk about Lithia and the Suburban collection and how it all kind of got started. Is there any insight that you have on that?
I mean, I could tell you about the Lithia side. Maybe you guys could take the Suburban side a bit, but we align pretty well history-wise. We've both been around for a long time. I mean, this year, coming up into 2026, is going to be 80 years that Lithia has been around. So we were started in 1946 in a little town in Southern Oregon called Ashland, right? It's like at the base of a mountain. And we were founded by a gentleman named Walt DeBoer. Walt happens to be our current CEO, Brian's grandfather, right? So it went from Walt DeBoer to Sid DeBoer to Brian DeBoer, who's our current CEO, right? So we've literally been a family-operated business for 80 years. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize about Lithia is they think it's a big publicly traded company, but they forget that we've had, really been operated by the same family since the beginning. And a lot of I would say, our humble roots, kind of permeate the culture of the business today, which is really cool. And it aligns really well with, another family business that we joined together with, when we acquired Suburban, 2021, going on 5 years almost, which is crazy to think about that. But, Suburban was started shortly after that, right down the street, right?
Yeah, 2 years later. So I think Suburban would have been celebrating their 78th year in business. 1948, I believe, was the date. Started by Richard Fisher, then David Fisher Sr. transitioned the company, and then really started to expand. And they started with a single point Oldsmobile dealership in Birmingham, Michigan. And similar trajectory with Lithia, just started to expand. And shortly after, I think 1979 was the big expansion where David Fisher Sr. Took over, and they, quickly became Michigan's largest dealer group. So, and we joined forces. David Fisher Jr. said it was almost like when Amazon bought Whole Foods, right? Whole Foods was still a big existing business, but now it was powered by Amazon, and through scale and everything like that, it became this big monstrosities.
Yeah. Yeah. As time went on, it's pretty wild looking back at the parallels of what, Lithia has started and what Suburban has started, and, in different locations, and then how they expanded throughout, pretty much the nation, and as time goes on and decades go past, right, things change, and the stores started just accumulating, and you can hear that we're the Suburban collection. Well, now we're Lithia, powered by Lithia, but still Suburban, right? And the identity of where they started and where we are today, it's an incredible thing.
All of your points, just amazing and so interesting to learn. And congratulations on almost 80 years. It's a major accomplishment. So going back to the biggest turning point, something big, and you all said, so many different things from, family business, from loyalty, from, combining Lithia and Suburban into making it all what it is today. What would you say the biggest turning point was that, brought us to where we are now?
John, you want to bet?
I could take that. I would say on the Suburban collection side, it was probably that 1979 time frame when David Fisher Sr. took over, and how quickly they just expanded in Southeast Michigan, growing the empire. And I would say on the Lithia side, there's been so many turning points, right?
Got a good one probably on the Lithia side. So on the Lithia side, we were a small market dealer group for many years. So we were known as almost unknown. I would say that we were probably the most unknown of the public dealer groups for years because we operated in a lot of small markets in the Pacific Northwest, right? We made an acquisition, which was one of the largest acquisitions in the history of automotive at the time, of DCH Automotive. And DCH Automotive was big on, the East Coast. John's from New Jersey. This was a lot of his competing stores, right? Yeah. When he came up in the car business, were DCH stores, and then on the West Coast. So California and New York and New Jersey primarily, right? After we had that acquisition and joined forces with the DCH stores, that's really when we learned how to operate in the big markets with big stores and really learn how to build better relationships with our OEM partners, because that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that if you want to grow, whether you're a private or a publicly held dealership, you have to have a good relationship with not only your customers and your employees, but also with your manufacturer partners, right? And we learned a lot more about how to be a better partner to our OEMs from the DCH folks. And I think that was probably a big turning point for Lithia as an organization.
Yeah.
Because we went from these small market stores to, hey, we can pretty much do anything. And I think that was probably the biggest turning point.
Absolutely. You both kind of touched on the way that you changed your approach from those small markets to those big markets. How would you say that your business has kind of evolved to meet the changing customer expectations throughout those files?
We've changed a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
I mean, rapidly over the last several years. Right?
Yeah, I'll take it to one specific store. We had an acquisition back in 2016, right? And it was a Toyota store, right? Great brand. The store was ran by another a great company right here, locally, right? And things changed, and the store changed hands, and to see the growth of that store was pretty wild. But what we had identified is there is so much customer demand out there, and we really need to figure out how to get there. And you can see it in just one small store to we have we'll call it a metro that we look after. Then we look at a state, right? And then we look at the nation, and there's so much opportunity that we have out there. And, Lithia as a whole, they really open our eyes with that and say, we can do much more with what we had today. So
We're leaning into things like AI, right? That we, wasn't even on the radar 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago, it wasn't on the radar.
Yes.
It's implemented into probably every one of our dealerships in some way, if not multiple ways right now. I believe we just did a panel talking about mobile service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mobile service pickup and delivery. That wasn't on anybody's radar before COVID. Now that's a critical part of our business. At our Ford stores, 20% of our ROs, right, our repair orders come from mobile service now, right? We're starting to see that grow in our other brands also. So really leaning into something that Jeff Bezos said, it was start with the customer and work backwards. And I think if we start with the customer and what they're looking for, right, and then we kind of back into this instead of saying, here's the process that's easy for us that we like, we want to try to fit you into this process. We're really trying to learn and evolve and grow as a company to figure out how do we serve the customer and meet them wherever, whenever, and however they need us to.
As a marketer, hearing that, music to my ears, that's exactly the goal. That's always what we're pushing for. And, to really wrap things up with every amazing thing you guys have shared with us today. I know, John, you talked about how in 1979, the big acquisition was, a big turning point. And, 80 years, family company, the, combination of both Lithia and Suburban. But overall, even from, 80 years ago or even now today with just what you mentioned with AI and new things, what historical milestone specifically, something specifically, maybe not the biggest turning point, but a milestone that, will always be historic and important?
Yeah, my biggest milestone was the acquisition of 2021. That really just changed things for Suburban in a very positive way. So that's probably the one that I would say sticks out to me the most. And then on everything that I've been seeing past that, with Lithia, there's just been a countless amount of milestones. If we look at all the horizontals and verticals that we call them internally, the getting into driveway and green cars, how we're thinking ahead with EVs. And I love what Mike said, we're trying to meet the consumer where they are today. Because, not everybody wants to have their car serviced at home. They still want the traditional dealership experience. And, we have to look at that and say, how can we make it better and better and better? Again, just whatever the consumer wants, that's got to do what we.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for being here with us today. Marisa and I have enjoyed it so extensively. I think that the value and the insight that you provide is most helpful to everyone in the industry, but also to us Northwood students as well. So big thank you to the three of you here today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.